Jake, I'm curious. You mentioned it a little bit up there, but when you are looking into his eyes, it doesn't look like he's fucking around. It does look a little bit intense, is it?
Oh, 100% it's intense. He does not want to lose. Like he's coming in there for a war, and I see that in his eyes.
He used to be considered this guy as like, oh, mind games. You know, even when he gets in there, he starts playing around and tries to get in your head. Do you think there's a chance that maybe I followed you on Instagram. Come on, buddy. Is he starting those mind games already?
Yeah, but look, I'm better than that, and like, to me, it doesn't matter once the bell rings. You know, it's cool before whatever. We could be cordial, but as soon as the fight starts, I'm a dog, he's a dog, and it's gonna be a war. So I don't read too much into all that stuff. I don't read into the shit talk. I don't read into the emotions. I don't read into the chit chat or whatever in any of my fights. And I think that's why I've been successful. Is people like Tyron Woodley, it was clear he was fighting me mad in both fights.
If there's a moment in the fight where Anderson starts doing his thing, backing into the corner, beckoning you on, dancing, I feel like out of all of his opponents, you might be the only one who ever starts dancing back and starts mucking around back. Is that a chance?
No, 100%. I'm not going to go for all the taunting shit. I grew up watching him and seeing that shit that he would do to opponents, and I would sit there on the couch as a kid and be like, oh, why don't they just do it right back to him? And it wasn't until Israel Adesanya fought him and did it right back to him, and you saw Anderson like look at him like, oh shit. And I'll do the same thing, man. I'm gonna fight my fight and be in control.
Were you kind of taken aback when he was like, hey, you should get a photo of us tattooed on you? I don't know if he meant tattoo, but for a second it looked like he meant get you guys tattooed on your own body.
No, I mean it is an iconic picture, and it could be cool. You know, it's definitely a crazy memory for me. So I think he was being serious, but I think he's like, that kid has so many tattoos, he could just get whatever. Like, yeah.
Jake, what would you say the top 5 influencers in boxing? Obviously, you're the pound-for-pound champ. But who would you say like 2, 3, 4, and 5 is? If you can give a list.
Logan's definitely number 2 for sure. And then after that, I would say it's probably a tie between Slim and KSI. And then in 4th, I would put Gibb now. And then
Dr. Mike. Wait till y'all see Dr.
Yeah,
Mike.
I was going to say Dr. Mike or Face Sensei coming in 5th place.
Now, I have to also say Devin's it was one of your boys, and obviously he's going to be supporting you. I think you guys did like a podcast as well. You kind of like chimed in on some of his fun when you said Gervonta just invented jewelry, like he invented jewelry. Like what was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just corny. Like, Gervonta basically was online saying that Devin dresses like him and shit, and it's like all people wear the same diamonds, the same jewelry, the same watches, the same cars, and it's guys like Gervonta with God complex that think they invented fashion or they invented jewelry. So it was just funny to see, and yeah, Devin's my boy, so. Gotta clown some of his opponents with him.
You also told Ryan that hopefully he can beat Floyd's son. I was assuming to Tank as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm rooting for Ryan in that fight. It's gonna be a tough fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. But you know, Gervonta hasn't shown really the ability to win a lot of rounds, right? Even with Barrios, he was losing a lot of those rounds on my scorecard. Obviously, he's in the Mayweather protection program, so a lot of the judges are probably paid off to score for Gervonta. But Barrios was winning those rounds, in my opinion, until he got dropped. So if Ryan can just not get hit with those big punches, then I think he could pull it off.
Jake, the dynamic for this fight, I mean, Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley is one thing, but Anderson Silva is truly beloved in MMA. Like, what do you think the reaction would be from the MMA community, the MMA world, when you win this fight?
I think people would be upset, but like I feel like they're already upset with me. So, you know, like I already knocked out Tyron Woodley. I already talked shit to a lot of the guys there. So it's definitely a love-hate relationship. But I know I'm gonna win. So it's just, I'm not gonna be like a fucking dickhead and like be jumping up on the ropes and shit after I win. Like it's not like that for me. This is not what that fight's about. This fight is about respect for the first time, and you know, hopefully when I knock him out, I help him get off the canvas.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk about paydays, how there's bigger paydays in boxing than MMA. I mean, Anderson's been in a lot of big fights throughout his career, but for this one, do you think this is going to be one of the biggest paydays of his career?
I do think so. I think this could be the biggest payday of his career.
You have a smile on your face when you say that, Jake.
Just because this is like my first big fight. As crazy as that sounds, all the other fights have been like decent, but this is the first big fight with another massive name who brings a ton of business to the table. Tyron Woodley never really sold that many pay-per-views. Ben Askren didn't sell any pay-per-views. Nate Robinson never fought. Gibb doesn't sell pay-per-views. The stadium was empty when Gibb fought. So this is the first time I'm fighting someone who brings just as much to the table as I do.
So the smile's not about his payday, it's actually about your payday.
Oh shit, I don't know. It'd be great. It'd be great. I want the event to do well, obviously. Yeah.
Speaking of paydays, you it seemed like you were paying very close attention on Saturday to Nate Diaz. In your perfect world, you beat Anderson as Nate next.
Yeah, look, I don't even know if he's out of his contract. I don't know how. I'm sure that the UFC has ways of keeping these guys in there. So if he's actually out of his contract, and I beat Anderson Silva on October 29th, get your tickets at Gila River Arena and Ticketmaster.com. Pull up, be here. But if I beat Anderson, then yeah, that fight makes perfect sense.
Jake, what's it like for you to know that should you win on October 29th, you will now have a win over one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time? What would that mean for you?
It's surreal to me. It would mean a lot to me. It would continue to motivate me in ways that are unexplainable, and it would just be a testament to like the hard work that I've put in. Because sometimes in that gym, when you're, it becomes a lonely sport, and you're just working, but not like the same thing every single day, over and over, and you need moments like that to stay motivated and to continue to love this sport. So that's what I'm going for.
Jake, Ben is a wrestler, obviously, and Woodley started as a wrestler, but this is a legit boxer, Anderson Silva to beat. What have you learned when you watch the Chavez fight you see from him?
He's a really good boxer, man, and he obviously beat a former world champion, and he's known as one of the greatest strikers of all time, right? And even Dana White just called him the GOAT of combat sports, and he's known for his striking. He's known for his knockouts. So he's going to be sharp. He's going to be electric. He's going to come in shape, right? He did 8 3-minute rounds with a former world champion. So I have a big challenge here.
You had a couple of boxers back out on you, but the MMA guys keep stepping up. Can you just talk
That's
about
what
the
I'm
two
saying.
sports, compare the two? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think these MMA guys have bigger balls, and that's just proven because they've gotten into the ring with me every single time. Tyron Woodley got into the ring with me on short notice. So they're down. They're about that action, and that's the kind of mentality that I have and that I want to bring to the ring. And I'm not scared of anyone, not afraid to back down from any challenge. But a lot of these boxers, man, they're just ducking people, and that's why you don't see the biggest fights in boxing happen, because they're scared of losing that O. In MMA, it's more common to lose and go get another chance and make a run back at the title. In boxing, if you lose, it's like very frowned upon. And so I think people are more protective of their opponents and protecting themselves from losing.
And I know that's something you want to change maybe in your career. How do you think you could go about that, change boxing a little bit so that the best fighters do fight each other?
I think just creating a system where like it's more mandatory for fights to happen, and obviously there's mandatory challengers for belts and such. That only matters if someone's the champion, and it's hard for that to sometimes happen. I think there needs to be one person in charge who just makes the fucking fights happen. And if the fighters don't want it to happen, they need to be penalized. Like for what Hasim Rahman Jr. did, right? He lost my Showtime Most Valuable Promotions and myself millions of dollars. He should be banned from the sport for 2 years for what he did, so that fighters don't do that moving forward. But there's none of that. He just gets away with it scot-free, gets a bunch of clout, and then tries to go and do another fight.
Are you going to be ranked? I know Mauricio Sulaimon was talking about getting you in that WBC rankings for that Rahman Jr. fight. Would Anderson Silva possibly get that qualification? And
I have no idea.
would you want to fight for?
I have no idea. Yeah, no, I'll be a world champion one day for sure. Light heavyweight world champion. So when the timing makes sense, yeah.
So go down in weight essentially, like slowly, because this is at 185, right? 187.
Yeah, I wanted it at 185, but Anderson wanted it at 187. So I'm slowly gonna come down in weight. I haven't cut that much weight previously, and I'm really a 175 pounder.
So a double fight maybe, the guy that beat Canelo,
Bivol?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, maybe. I don't. I don't think many people know who Beeble is outside of the boxing world. And part of my responsibility of making these fights is having big names.